independent intelligence is something that I developed and coined recently in a working paper. So what does this word independent intelligence mean? It simply means that you are in a state of independence. You create decisions that are free of any external influence. And let me tell you something. Each and every one of you here already possess independent intelligence. Do you know why? It's because each and every one of you, listen to this, decided to come here today without any external influence of traffic, of it being a holiday, of your friends saying, hey, come on, let's hang out. You are still here today. So for that, let's have a round of applause for each one of you here. So, when we talk about this term called independent intelligence, the word intelligence in itself, it can be calculated. It can be calculated by something that we call an IQ, or an intelligence quotient. The formula being mental age by your chronological age or your birth age times 100. Now, when you talk about your mental age or intelligence or IQ, a simple thing comes into my mind. You know, we have a lot of great leaders in finance, in accounts, in economics, but somehow these really excellent leaders sometimes make terrible decisions. Why? What it concluded is that even though you might have a really high IQ, you might be really intelligent in terms of the number IQ, you might not be the best in making decisions. It really doesn't mean that you having a high IQ that means that you will succeed in life. Because the real essence of a true decision maker, of somebody with real intelligence, is someone who can see the tip of the iceberg way before it hits the Titanic. Another thing, look at the equation of intelligence. The word mental age. In this equation, we're supposed to put a number to mental age. And that really makes no sense to me. And I'll tell you why. Because, actually, let me give you an example of myself. Mental age. If you ask my mom, sitting in the audience, what my mental age is, she's probably going to tell you not more than 10 or 12. And she'll give you good reasons as well. But if you ask my best friend, what is my mental age, she's going to tell you, I'm sure, 60 years old mentally. Why? Because when your best friend has a problem, I don't know how, but you suddenly have a PhD in topics you were not even aware about, right? For example, your friend tells you, hi, I have an occasion, I want to buy a dress. You suddenly know all the malls wherever they're giving discount. Suppose your friend tells you, I had a really bad day and my boss said this and that. You suddenly just know how to deal with her situation. You become a psychologist and say, listen, I'll tell you how to react. And suppose it's a love issue. You literally become Steve Harvey, Dr. Phil, Ellen, and Oprah all at once. So you can really not put a number on your mental age because it changes per person, per situation. So therefore, the whole concept of putting a number on intelligence doesn't really make any sense to me. So I started digging a little deeper. Okay, intelligence, I'm intelligent, I don't want to number it. What are the different types of intelligence that we see? The first type of intelligence is human intelligence. It's the intelligence we're all born with. It talks about knowledge that we learn in schools, memory of whatever we did when we were a child. And the second type of intelligence is basically artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is as simple as your smartphone. It's as simple as your social media feeds. It's as simple as you watching Netflix, YouTube. Because when you start watching Netflix or YouTube, these programs automatically use AI to create algorithms that give you options on what you would like to see next. Correct? The next and the third type of intelligence that we've all heard about is emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is something that deals with our own emotions, to be aware of it, to understand it, and to understand the emotions of people around us. And in fact, there are about 400, believe me, there are about 400 emotions that we face daily, and that actually results in deciding whether we have had a good day or a bad day. Trust me, right now, I think I'm having like 1,000 emotions running through me. But what I realized was that each of these intelligence systems have their own unique characteristics, their own unique set of identifying what intelligence does it belong to, until I came across the one common characteristic. Can you identify? Decision making. And that, my friends, is where independent intelligence is born. Independent intelligence is when you take a decision for yourself without any external factors influencing the decision you have made. Thinking out of the box. A famous person called Napoleon Hill said, "Human beings' biggest mistake is that we listen to our family, friends, and neighbors for advice." And you know what? Only a few years ago, it wasn't possible that you could become a person of value within 1 month. Literally 1 month. But today, you can transform yourself in a matter of 1 month. Do you know how? Things like Google, YouTube. When you go onto these, you can actually look at it, download a skill, download a course, and get yourself trained and become a person of value just within 1 month. So when you are taking decisions like this, and when you're trying to be independent, there is a concept of decision making, right? Like when you're making a decision, you start thinking. But there are also different types of thinking. So let's do a poll. There's out-of-the-box thinking, where people are flexible. People don't like to play by the rules per se, and they have a very growing mindset. How many of you would say, in general, you think out of the box? Can we have numbers? All right, quite a few. What if I told you that there's another kind of thinking, which is a box thinking, where you don't really like to break rules. You're very traditional in your thinking, and you like to focus on the way things are done. How many of you would say you are the traditional or fixed kind of box thinking? Anyone? Some of you hesitant, okay. But what if I told you that in reality, the box doesn't really exist? What if I told you that whatever you've been learning about the box, the in-box, out-box, near the box, around the box, it was all programs from the time you were born? What if I told you that your reality is actually not what you think? Do you know why? Because in today's world, in today's technological era, impossible actually is nothing. And that's why when you break the word impossible down, what does it spell? I am possible. Which means any decision you create has a change and makes whatever you are thinking a possibility. So thinking about intelligence and the decisions that you have to make and the factors that are there, it's also important to understand that when you're talking about independent intelligence, you understand that in your present state, you are capable of moving into your future state, right? Now, when you move into your future state and you make decisions, there will be changes, because every single decision you make has a repercussion, whether it's a good one or a bad one. But I've developed 4 concepts to help you out whenever you are creating a decision, to make sure that it is in terms and in lines with deciding something for yourself. The first one is an inner like button. So in the first concept of inner like button, all of us have social media, right? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. We quite often go liking, sharing, hearting things. It's high time we all start doing that like to ourselves. It's high time we start appreciating what we do. It could be the smallest thing, trust me. Small as waking up in the morning to go to university or work. And sometimes you wake up and you're just like, snooze, I don't want to go. But when you wake up, you get ready, you're on the road, and you've decided to do it, that, my friends, deserves a like, a real like. My second concept is called personal goals and objectives. The easiest way for me to explain this is, you know the field of sports? There's so many sports that we can think of. Let's think of a track racer. He's on the track. Ready, set, go. Have you ever seen any track racer saying to his opponent, hey, what's up? Most likely not. Why? Because when you're in the game, when you're in the race, all that the track racer can think of is winning, is running, of breaking a record, achieving what he came to do. And that's exactly what you do every single time you think of independent intelligence. You don't let the external factors influence you. If you want to do something, you do it irrespective of any external factor. That decision is yours at the end of the day. The third one that I developed, the concept of originality. Now, we all know what's being original, correct? But when we were born, we were all born original. When we were born, we wanted to be astronauts, pilots, ballerinas. But the world, unfortunately, erases this slowly, puts you back in the box. But I want you to remember, being original is what you were meant to do. Achieving your dreams, achieving your passion is what you were meant to do. So don't be afraid to be original. Don't be afraid to go back and start from scratch, because that also is a part of decision-making and achieving what you set out to want in the first place. And my last concept is a concept called redo. Now, redo has two meanings, really. And in this context, it actually means when you take a decision and that decision is right or wrong, what do you do then? What do you do when you take a decision that is right? You redo it again and again and again. Because the decision that you made, the process that you followed, the reasons that made you reach that decision was right, the change that occurred is positive, you start redoing it again. The same methodology again and again. But we're all human, we make mistakes, right? If we make a decision that is wrong, you again redo it. But this time, erase and do again. Erase and do again. That's what redo means, and that's what the concept of redoing something is. Which reminds me, I have to tell you a secret, and you're going to enjoy this. It's a theory that I developed. When we make decisions, when we decide that something is good for us, when we've succeeded in removing all the external factors and saying, yes, this is what I want, change occurs. But sometimes in life, we all reach a breaking point, correct? It could be in our teenage years. It could be in our 20s when we're looking for work. It could be in our 30s, midlife crisis, retirement plans. Any point of time, you might have a crisis. What do you do then? The chick theory. It might sound a little funny, but I want you to just mentally play along with me. In the chick theory, I want you all to imagine that you are an egg. Can you imagine you're an egg? I know it's funny, and I know it's not possible, but you're an egg. Yeah, I can see you laughing. You're an egg as well. So, imagine that you're an egg, all right? When you have an egg, and there's pressure that is put from outside to inside the egg, it's pressure flowing in, and going in, and going in, and it's squeezing, and it's a crack, and it's broken. Correct? What happens to the egg? It breaks. But now, again imagine that you are an egg. But in the second scenario, you're an egg, but the pressure direction has changed. The pressure direction now is from inside to outside. The pressure's increasing. It's really increasing. It's almost going to crack and crack. What happens this time? There's a little chick. right? So what does this teach us? It teaches us that no matter what happens and when you reach that break point in your life, remember that in scenario one, if the pressure from outside is going to get you, you will be left broken. But trust me, if you decide today that that pressure is not going to get me and I will change first, that means that you have discovered life. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, independent intelligence in a nutshell is making decisions for yourself without any external factors for yourself and accepting independent intelligence so that you keep moving forward and succeeding. Thank you.